We had finally done it. After months of saving and countless viewings, my girlfriend and I had finally moved into our first home together. It wasn't anything extravagant, but to us, it was perfect. A little detached house on the edge of a quiet town. It had a small back garden where we could sit on warm evenings, a cozy spare room we planned to turn into an office, and plenty of space for our rescue cat, Milo, to explore. It felt like a dream, but even dreams have shadows. At first, the only thing that bothered us was the house next door on the right. It was half renovated, with scaffolding abandoned mid-job and piles of bricks scattered in the overgrown grass. The owner had apparently started work years ago, then just never came back. There was supposed to be a fence separating our garden from its own, but only a few broken posts remained, leaving the back wide open. Directly behind that abandoned property stood another home, not empty, but occupied by a group of young men. From the moment we arrived, we noticed them cutting across the neglected garden, using it as a shortcut to the street. They would slip through silently, almost as if the place belonged to them. We figured maybe they had permission from whoever owned it. We didn't think much of it at first, but looking back now, I wish we had. The first night in our new home was peaceful at first. We sat outside with drinks, excited about our new beginning. Milo curled up on the patio, purring contently. Then, out of curiosity, I glanced up at the houses behind us. And froze. There was a man at one of the windows. He wasn't trying to hide. His face was pale in the dim light, eyes locked on us with a blank, almost lifeless expression. No movement, no blink, just an empty stare. I nudged my girlfriend. "Do you see him?" She looked, and her face went pale. We laughed nervously, brushing it off. Probably just curious about the new neighbors, we told ourselves. But he didn't move for half an hour, just stood there, watching. We went inside, unsettled, but determined not to overthink it. The next few days were normal enough. I went to work, she stayed home unpacking, and Milo explored every corner of the house. Life felt stable. Until the second night. We decided to sit in the garden again. The stars were out, and the air was calm. We talked about the future, about decorating, about where we'd put the bookshelves. Then we heard it, the sound of wood shifting. I turned my head just in time to see 3 figures slipping through the broken fence into our garden. They just stood there, silhouettes against the night, staring. You okay there?" I asked, my voice shaking despite my attempt at casualness. The youngest, maybe late 20s, carried a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. He unzipped it and pulled out dish detergent pods. He offered them to us like a salesman. I forced a laugh, trying to break the tension. "We're good, thanks." He smiled faintly, zipped the bag, and the 3 of them wandered off through the garden like they had every right to be there. My girlfriend and I exchanged a look. Neither of us said it out loud, but we were both thinking the same thing. That wasn't normal, and it was only the beginning. The visits continued. Sometimes they wouldn't speak at all. They'd just step into our garden, stand there silently, and then leave. Other times, they would deliberately bang on the fence as they climbed through, making sure we knew they were there. It was intimidation, pure and simple. And here's the thing, we're both only 21. The way they looked at us, the way they smirked, it felt targeted, like they enjoyed scaring to young women who lived alone. One afternoon, I was vacuuming the front room when 2 police officers walked down the side of our house. They slipped straight into the abandoned garden, lifted up part of the broken fence, looked around, and then left without saying a word to us. It was bizarre, but I assumed maybe the men behind us were troublemakers. That theory was confirmed a few days later when police knocked on our door. They explained the group in the back house had been evicted for repeated antisocial behavior, not just against us, but other neighbors too. We felt a rush of relief. At least it was over, or so we thought. A week later, while I was in the bath, I heard a loud bang outside. I quickly threw on some clothes and ran to find my girlfriend. She was in the spare room, phone raised, recording. "What's happening?" I whispered. She didn't answer, just pointed. There was a man in the abandoned garden, not one of the young men we'd seen before. Someone new. He looked up at our bedroom window and grinned before sprinting straight toward our house. On the way, he yanked violently at our back door handle. When it didn't open, he dashed back, vaulted the broken fence, and began pounding on the windows of the empty house, his fists echoing like gunshots. We called the police immediately. They came, watched the video, nodded, and left. No answers. But we were shaken. Why try our door first? What was his real plan? Then the nights grew worse. It started with whistling, slow, taunting whistles, the kind men used to mock women. It was always around 2 or 3 in the morning. Then came the tapping, light, deliberate taps on our windows. We'd check the cameras, but somehow, they never recorded. It was as if someone knew exactly how to avoid them. One morning, after spending a sleepless night at my mom's, we returned home to find our video doorbell ripped off and placed face down on the ground. The memory card was gone. Someone had been right at our door, dismantling our only defense, and we knew exactly who. The police advised us to lock every door and window. The woman on the phone even admitted, removing cameras often means they're planning something. That single sentence made our blood run cold. The harassment became routine. Whistles in the night, bangs on the fence, shadows moving across the lawn. Weeks passed, and although they never managed to get inside, the fear of when they might never left us. And then came the worst encounter yet. It was just after midnight. We were in bed, scrolling through the live feed from our indoor camera, when something outside caught our attention. A man was standing in our garden, his hood pulled up, his mouth and nose hidden behind a black mask, his arms spread wide, his head tilted, like some twisted imitation of a crucifixion. He stood like that, staring directly at our bedroom window. We froze. My girlfriend whispered, "Is this really happening?" Then, after what felt like forever, he spoke, but we couldn't make out the words. He turned, walked across the street, and stood there, staring at our house for 30 long minutes. When we called the police, they told us staring wasn't a crime. They brushed it off as if we were paranoid. But we knew this wasn't normal. Sleep became impossible. Every creak, every gust of wind made us jump. Then, one night at exactly 2:50 a.m., the camera alert pinged. I shook my girlfriend awake. "Someone's outside. Check it." She did, and there they were. 2 masked men creeping from the side of our house, flashlights slicing through the dark. One of them, the same man who had been tormenting us, clutched a crowbar in his hand. They prowled around the garden, peering into windows, whispering to each other. We didn't move. We didn't breathe. We just watched. And then, slowly, they walked back into the shadows and disappeared. Since then, the harassment hasn't stopped. Sometimes he stands across the street, pointing, waving, whispering things we can't hear. Sometimes it's just the whistling in the dead of night. We've installed more cameras. We record everything, but it doesn't make us feel safer. Just earlier today, he came back, standing in the street, staring up at our window, and I can't shake the feeling that this isn't over, that he's waiting. Planning. And one day soon, he won't just be staring.